A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic escalation of tensions, the Palestinian militant group Hamas has vehemently criticized Israel for its delay in releasing Palestinian prisoners, following the handover of 6 Israeli hostages on Saturday. The exchange, which was closely monitored by mediators from Egypt and Qatar, has raised concerns about the future of ongoing negotiations and the fragile ceasefire that has been in place since the conflict intensified more than 16 months ago. Hamas issued a stern warning to Israel, stating that if the agreement was violated, they would no longer seek mediation for the conflict. The group expressed outrage over the holdup, as they had expected a swift release of Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the hostages. Reports indicate that Israel is set to release 602 Palestinian prisoners, including 50 serving life sentences, in a bid to secure the freedom of their citizens. As the hours passed after the 6th Israeli hostage was handed over to the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, the anticipated release of the Palestinian prisoners did not commence. This delay is particularly notable given that previous exchanges typically saw the quick release of Palestinians following the return of Israeli hostages. According to Israeli media, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was seeking security consultations on how best to proceed with the release, causing further frustration among Hamas leaders. The 6 hostages were turned over in various locations across Gaza, with the first 2, Tal Shoam and Avera Mengistu, being released in Rafah. The remaining hostages, Omer Shemtov, Aliyah Cohen, and Omer Wenkert, were handed over in the Nuseirat refugee camp, all under the watchful eyes of armed Hamas militants. The handover ceremonies were broadcast live, showcasing a stark contrast between the joy of the returning hostages and the devastation of buildings destroyed in the ongoing conflict. The final hostage released, Hisham al-Sayed, had been held captive for nearly a decade, raising concerns about the psychological toll on all the freed individuals. Al-Sayed and Mengistu had voluntarily crossed into Gaza years earlier, leading to their prolonged captivity. The other 4 hostages were taken during a brutal attack on October 7, 2023, which resulted in over 1,200 deaths and the abduction of more than 250 individuals. In a separate but related development, the body of Shiri Bibas, a German-Israeli woman, was confirmed by her kibbutz, Nir Oz, to have been returned to Israel. Her 2 young sons, Ariel and Kfir, who were abducted alongside her, were also confirmed dead. The return of their remains has sparked outrage, particularly after a mix-up involving a 4th coffin that did not contain any of the Bibas family members. As the situation unfolds, Hamas is expected to hand over the bodies of 4 more Israeli hostages next week, marking the final step in the first phase of the ceasefire agreement. The multi-stage agreement, which began on January 19th, outlines that a total of 33 hostages will be released in exchange for 1,904 Palestinian prisoners over a 6-week period. So far, Hamas has released 25 hostages and 4 bodies, while 5 Thai nationals were released independently of the agreement. Looking ahead, the second phase of the agreement remains uncertain as discussions on its implementation have yet to commence. Hamas is advocating for a permanent ceasefire and the complete withdrawal of Israeli forces, while Israel remains steadfast in its goal to dismantle Hamas entirely. With more than 60 hostages still believed to be held in Gaza, and reports suggesting that about half of them may no longer be alive, the stakes are high. The situation continues to evolve, and both sides are under immense pressure to reach a resolution that could bring an end to the ongoing violence and suffering. As tensions mount, Israeli officials have expressed their discontent with Hamas's handling of the hostage situation, citing the humiliating treatment of Israeli captives during the exchanges. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office released a statement condemning Hamas's actions, particularly the use of hostages for propaganda purposes. The Israeli government has decided to delay the next phase of prisoner releases in response to these concerns, highlighting the fragile nature of the ongoing negotiations. The international community is closely watching the developments, as calls for a more humane treatment of hostages and compliance with international law grow louder. The United Nations has condemned the actions taken by Hamas during the handover ceremonies, emphasizing the need for respect for the dignity of all individuals involved. As the situation remains fluid, the outlook for the next steps in the ceasefire agreement and the fate of the remaining hostages hangs in the balance. Both sides appear entrenched in their positions, making it increasingly difficult to envision a pathway to lasting peace in the region. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.